Welcome to Restaurant Review. I'm your host, Bob Bockelman. We're here every Saturday live for you and your viewing pleasure with repeats during the week and also late on next weekend. And also, programming note for those we've told you many times, we are starting to move into our adjourning parish. So for those in Jefferson, you can look for us on Channel 8 in the evenings. I believe it's a Tuesday. I'm going to get the schedule for you later. Anyway, we're real excited about that. For our loyal New Orleans audience, we're really pleased to continue in our third season. And, you know, our focus here is restaurants primarily, and we have a sub-focus on new restaurants. That's always where we're going. And we also love bringing to you New Orleans' other famous R, and that's rhythms or music of the city. Today we have a wonderful new restaurant. Really excited about it. Our musical guest is one of our archival musicians. We didn't have a live guest in studio today, but we're real pleased to let you hear someone who's been on our show before. I believe he was in our second season. And what we're going to do is go ahead and let's see if we can listen to that musical guest. His name is Dave Malachar. And Dave, let's see, what can you do for us on your first song?
Keep the money in the shoe. With one deep Ellum, got them deep Ellum blues. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blue. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blue. Once I knew a preacher, and he preached the Bible through and through. And it went down to deep Ellum, now his preaching days are through. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blues. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blues. Once I had a girlfriend, meant the world to me. Went down too deep Ellum, now she ain't what she used to be. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blue. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blue. Go down to deep Ellum, have a little fun. Have your $15 ready when them policemen come. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blue. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blue. And you're out to deep Ellum, have a little fun. Have your $15 ready when them policemen come. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blue. Oh, sweet mama, your daddy got them deep Ellum blue.
was Deep Bottom Blues with the very talented Miles Sullivan, and I apologize for giving the wrong name before, but we had brought in two archival artists, and I got confused who we used, but I'm really glad we chose Miles, because that Deep Bottom Blues is the old Mississippi bottom, and perfect for today's show. Okay, we're all pleased to bring you an in-studio live chef and owner of a brand new restaurant. And this restaurant's got a lot of distinctions early on in its very short history. And we want you to welcome with me the executive chef and owner of Le Citron Bistro. His name is David BAIRD. Welcome to the show, David.
Well, thank you, Bob, for a great introduction, and really appreciate the opportunity to come and share with your viewers some of the things that we've got going on at Le Citron.
Well, we're so pleased, and for those who want to know where you are located, he's on the corner of Orange and Religious Street, which is considered the warehouse district, and most importantly, the building he has, I'm going to let him tell you about it because it's very significant. Tell us what's so great about the building. We're going to see some great pictures of it in a moment, but go ahead and tell us about your fabulous building.
Well, the building is located at 1539 Religious Street, and that is a building that was built 1810 by a French citizen that had plans of moving outside of the city limit of New Orleans. At that time, when the building was built, it was actually called the City of Lafayette. So when folks come to our restaurant, they actually can travel back in time to Lafayette. One of the things that happened when we took over the space, we noticed that the building was had some really antique methods of construction, and those were wooden pegs that were up in the attic, and the bricks that were inside the building were all very soft. When we got almost finished with the construction, I contacted the Historic District, and Eleanor Burke came over and did an ascertained that the age of the building was beyond what was originally thought, that they had originally had it down as around 1830s. But they did a title search and were able to conclude that the building was built in 1810.
Wow. And so what does that make it? The oldest building. How do y'all feature yourselves?
We are the oldest building uptown of Canal Street
on the uptown side of Canal.
That is correct.
Fantastic. And folks, we've got it divided. As you'll see, there's the lovely entrance there. We've got divided into 3 dining rooms and a beautiful courtyard, which of course we all have to have here in New Orleans. And let's talk a little bit about that as we see some of the pictures. Here's your main dining room, and off the right side are 2 of the smaller dining rooms, and off to the left, the viewer's left, is the fabulous patio. Here's the interior of one of the dining rooms for private small parties. It's open though for overflow as well. And in a minute we'll see the other dining room with the great. I love that big sunburst medallion mirror clock in that situation. And then eventually we'll get around to the patio. Look how pretty and lush this is. And what's really good about your patio, not only is beautiful mural, but is your herb garden. I know you your kitchen is off of that, and all of the herbs that you grow, a lot of your herbs yourself. Is that correct?
That's correct. You can never have enough basil in your red sauces and your other sauces. Fresh basil really imparts a wonderful taste to all the foods that are available. And that's one of the things that we've been able to do, is to bring in absolute fresh herbs into the cooking that we do at Le Citron. The one thing that I could add to the space in Le Citron, it actually would be a great place for wedding parties, because one of the rooms could be set up for the bride's groom's family, and the other one could be set up for the bride. And very conducive for that, and beautiful settings outside for the photographs. So really, it'd be great for private parties. And I heard you already had one of the parties of a local movie production. We're starting to become Hollywood South, everyone. And one of the latest movies being filmed down there, I know, used it for some of their crew parties. So that's really great. Let's talk more importantly for the audience. So you can seat about how many in the restaurant? We can seat approximately 50 people inside the restaurant.
And your hours and days of operation for everyone?
We are open for lunch Monday through Friday from 11:30 until 2, and then we are open for dinner from Wednesday through Saturday, and those times are from 6 to 10, and later on on Friday and Saturday, as late as everybody is there.
Right. Till the crowd leaves, unfortunately. That's the credo of today's restaurateur. Well, folks, it's easy to find, like I said, down from the Mississippi Bridge, down from the convention center, just a couple blocks from that huge complex of Soleil Apartments, which everyone has gotten familiar with now because it replicates our French Quarter so nicely in the Lower Garden District. So it's real easy to find, great place to go, ample parking all around, real comfortable. Let's go ahead and show some of the folks some of the wonderful dishes, and again, we only can pick a few during our visits from each category, but let's go ahead and start with our first appetizer, and I think it was great. You call them your focaccia sticks. Tell us a little bit about them, please.
The focaccia sticks, actually it was one day we were just saying to ourselves, oh, look at that, I wonder what you could do with focaccia bread. So it kind of started with thinking that an herb focaccia bread had another use besides just ending up being spicy breadcrumbs. So what we were looking at was we used a classic French method of batter, and then we battered and fried the focaccia sticks, and then they're coated with Parmesan cheese, and they're very tasty.
Really are, and see the lovely serving, so more than enough for either one per, if you have a whole 4 diners, or 2. And again, quite filling because the bread is a great way to start. And New Orleans, as I tell you, has always been one of my favorite judges of a restaurant is its bread. And even though they're not baking the bread in-house, they're taking it a step further from a local vendor and really making it an excellent appetizer. But if you want something a little different, say, oh, I really don't want bread. We've got a great Louisiana tradition, and that's the fried green tomatoes, a staple in Louisiana. Beautifully served with great sauce. Tell us about your fried green tomatoes, please, David.
Well, we start out with a green tomato, and it's sliced into about a 1/4 inch thick patty. We then batter it in buttermilk, and then put a light seasoning into our breading and flour, and we then fry the green tomato, and then we top it with a sauce that consists of Louisiana crawfish tails.
There you go. Good.
And that's a creamy sauce based on a traditional seafood cream sauce.
Right. Wonderful combination using our Louisiana ingredients, our crawfish that we love so much. So they too, and of course there's several other appetizers, but what we usually do is just pull a few from each to show. So there's 2 good ones to start from. Let's move on now, and I think we're going to look at, and here's a really great selection of salads, which is great for us here during our long summer that we have just coming off of, and also for the ladies, and also for the health-oriented today. We're much more health-conscious and eating a lot more salads. So he's got a wonderful chicken salad that is tremendous. It was a grilled chicken salad, I believe, and wonderful Citron sauce, huh?
That's correct. That's our grilled chicken Caesar. And basically what we have is a citrus marinated chicken breast that's then grilled, and then it's sliced, and it's served over a traditional romaine lettuce bed with a home house-made Caesar dressing that has anchovies, and also it has a little bit of Parmesan cheese mixed in, and we are then putting it on a beautiful plate, and then bringing it out. And as you see, it is a really nice looking creation.
Right. And we should have explained, of course, we made the natural assumption here that we are all New Orleans and all speak French, what Le Citron means. And basically it's a lemon, and it's all the lemon citrus flavor, because you could use other fruit besides. And so he's incorporating that, like here in the marinade of the chicken, so really great. And then on top of that, having the Caesar salad, and it doesn't clash at all because it's a simple French a dressing that is really, really lovely. So in the marinade and the dressing together. So highly recommend. Very, very tasty. And like I say, there's several other salads. Let's move on to our soups. And here's where he really excels. He really has a great selection. I believe he has a couple on the menu every day. And then he's also rotating. And our first one was really my favorite. And that was your black bean. It was a pure, wonderful puree. Usually black bean soup is done whole beans. Here he's done a puree, and let me let you tell him more about it, just so you can tell there. It looks like a great cup of coffee, but it is magnificent.
Well, we start out with a black bean, and we add a few things to it. We add a little bit of bacon drippings to the actual black beans while we're cooking them, and it contains onions, and a little garlic, a little bit of cumin, and then what we do is we puree the mixture to give it a nice thick consistency. Then we add a little sour cream and onions to the mix, and that's a fresh piece of our basil leaf there on top of the soup.
To give it color and flavor. Really dynamite, folks. So if you're a black bean aficionado like I am, this is a great variety because, like I say, most do serve it traditionally ways with the whole beans. The puree gives it a much creamier flavor, and then your additional accoutrements really bring it out. Now, before we go to the other soup, I do want to mention that, as always, since we are a live show, we do welcome your calls. Both David and I would love to answer any questions about his fine new restaurant or anything else about the show. So the director will flash those numbers up sometime during the show, and don't hesitate to give us a call because we'd love to hear from you, answer any questions about his great new restaurant. But let's go ahead and move on now to the other soup, and this, of course, again, another Louisiana, especially a New Orleans native, and that is your seafood gumbo. Can you tell us about it, David, please?
Our seafood gumbo starts out with the traditional roux, and once we get the roux perfected, then what we've done, we'll mix in our trilogy of seasonings, the garlic, the celery, and then what we onion, and we then assemble it and add some more stock to it, seafood stock, and then cook it for a good bit of while. It also contains a little bit of andouille sausage, and then fresh Louisiana seafood. We have a gumbo crab and also a shrimp, and as seasonality lets you put in oysters and things like that. But right now, oysters are pretty scarce. The beds are closed here in Louisiana, and you
thanks to our hurricane, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of a tragedy.
A lack thereof, yeah. But beautiful, and it's so picturesque to see that great crab with its claws hanging over the side. Just really, really attractive. And I love the way they do the small cups in a great coffee cup, very stylized porcelain dishes. So it's real reminiscent of a French home. Like I say, this restaurant is going to really wow your socks off with the ambiance and the flavor of the foods. And as I mentioned, he does rotate. And maybe tell us a little bit more about a couple of the other soups you do, because really this is his forte, I know, in addition to some of the other dishes.
Well, I don't think you can make enough soups, for one, but we also have a jumbo lump crab bisque that we do. We've got an artichoke and oyster soup. We also had a tortilla soup that we rotated in occasionally. Now that the cold weather's getting here, we're going to probably bring in like a 3-bean soup.
Good.
We'll be doing some just traditional chicken soup and a beef soup.
Get into those hearty stock flavors,
right?
Huh?
And then I also have a recipe for a chili soup. So it's basically like a chili con carne, but it's served in a soup style. So we just can't wait for this cold weather right now, and it's
well, we had a taste of it yesterday, but it was unfortunately, folks, very short limited for those who are outside of AR. We had a cold front, and it cooled us down to maybe 60, 70 was the high during the day, and it lasted for one day. Got magnificent weather, it's beautiful, but the temperatures are already rising again, so we had a very short lived, and we should be feeling a little cool by now. I mean, after all, it's almost November. Hopefully, it will be coming in so we can all. I love soups too as well, and so I'm anxious for those hearty soups to help warm us up during those chilly, chilly days. All right, let's move into some of the entrees. We had some really great selections for you folks. I believe the first was your free-range chicken. Is that fried chicken? Is that a wonderful southern dish, but done a little differently?
Right. What we've done is we've taken the Nolan-style fried chicken and taken it up a notch. We actually are using a free-range chicken that comes from North Carolina, from a small farm up in North Carolina, and has never been in a cage. And for those that don't know what free range means, that's basically a chicken that's been let to grow up to adult size, and it's able to feed out amongst all the plants and vegetation. So they have a slightly different taste, and it's a little more gamey, but it is a really wonderful flavor. It gives you it will reminisce you to back when you remember how chicken was supposed to taste. And unfortunately, a lot of the chickens that are mass-produced now, they've lost their identity in flavor. So that's one of the reasons.
You're 100% correct. So the meat itself is no longer just a piece of white meat that you can't get in, that you got to doctor up. But tell me, I was enthused by your crust. Is the crust panko, the Japanese panko crust, or is it something similar to that?
Well, it's a little bit similar. It's a traditional recipe that, and I have to give real thanks to Chef Austin Leslie from Giacomo's, who shared me some of his secrets when I worked over there with Jack when he had just started the restaurant. So we kind of have a little bit of our secrets.
I love it because it's got flavor, but it's not overbearing. It's very lightly battered. And served with traditional potato salad. And I'm sorry, what else was on the side? I didn't notice what else you were serving on the side there besides.
We have a traditional potato salad on the side, and we can also offer. We're a restaurant that is out there to please you. If you don't like potato salad, we'll put vegetables on there. If you don't like vegetables, we'll put beans on there. If you don't like beans, we'll put rice on there. So whatever anybody would like, we're able to do it. We've come up with a really good macaroni and cheese side dish also.
I think we have it on one of the other dishes. Let's move on now. What we did was took this from the day menu, but it's also at night, and again, it's one of their signature dishes. It's called the Citron burger. So, hamburger, as we've said, been preaching, we're going back. For the last 5 years now, we're going back to all the foods that we grew up with. Some we didn't. Some other countries grew up with. Peasant food, good homemade. This is bringing the burger back into the restaurant, getting it out of the fast food concept. And a really neat variation here. Why don't you tell us about it, and also those great homemade fries, the Cajun fries you do. Tell us about the burger, please.
Well, the burger starts out with your choice of either beef, turkey, or a garden burger type, so that somebody that wants to get a vegetarian burger doesn't say, I want a vegetarian burger. They just order the Citron burger, and it comes in those three choices, turkey, beef, or vegetarian. And what we do is then we grill it and prepare it on our grill to order, and then what we have is a nice yellow seeded bun that's an egg bun, and also the fries are classic French cut. Those are actually Yukon Gold potatoes, which have a really nice flavor to them. The starch in there is a much more subtle starch flavor than some of the other potatoes that are raised in other parts of the country. And then it's topped with a cheese and bacon, or if somebody doesn't want that, they can ask to subtract anything they don't want on there. Of course, a vegetarian burger wouldn't have the bacon.
Right. That makes sense. But so there you go, a burger for all people. But excellent, again, on the lunch as well as the dinner menu, and certainly a nice tribute. If you like burgers, I think you really like this one. Now, my other favorite, besides the fried chicken that we had, was a wonderful turkey dish. I'm not sure if it was on the menu, but it might have been a special tonight, but it was delightful. This turkey was so melting in your mouth with a wonderful, so tell us, served with beautiful baby carrots. Tell us, I don't know if you had a name for this one or not. If you so, I missed it because I didn't see it on the menu itself.
Yeah, that was kind of our chef special for the day, and that was a turkey breast in a turkey gravy and mushroom sauce that also had the caramelized baby carrots, and the macaroni and cheese, which we also have available.
There you go. It's hard almost to distinguish them up in the top left of the platter. Between the carrots and the thing is your great macaroni and cheese, really nice. Done not heavy over cheese, just perfect. The macaroni still was flavorful, elbow like type of macaroni. Traditional New Orleans home style cheese sauce on top. Really this was almost like having Thanksgiving dinner in the middle of the week. So I was tickled pink, but it's specifically because the turkey was so tender and moist that it really made it quite enjoyable. Now, folks, again, don't hesitate to give us a call if you'd like. What we're going to do now for maybe next 10 minutes is talk about other items on the entree list and maybe the appetizers to fill up time before we go back to our musician. And then we'll come back and, of course, take a look at desserts, talk about beverages and special events. So let's talk about a few of the other items, because now we've done a couple of the fowl and we also have done a burger. How about any seafood? Tell us a little bit seafood on the entree menu.
Well, we also offer several seafood dishes that some traditional fried catfish, traditional fried. We do a speckled trout when in season. We also offer fried shrimp and fried oysters. But we have a couple of seafood dishes that we're playing around with. One is a trout Martinique, and that's a trout that starts out with a fresh fillet of speckled trout, and it's topped with a papaya salad, and then it's pan seared and then roasted with a wine sauce, and then served on the plate with the papaya salad, and it's really a very tasty, light dish that doesn't have a very high carb count.
Do you have a name for it? Ever call it something special? It really sounds great.
It's called Trout Martinique, and it brought me back to thinking about the islands when I went down there, and I have been in the Coast Guard, having traveled into the Caribbean, down into Aruba and some of the other islands, and observed a lot of the cooking down there. And I think that's kind of where I got my start in this business. From the Coast Guard, I was a commissary officer on one of the Coast Guard cutters, and you're kind of like the restaurant owner when you're the commissary officer.
Well, to me, there's nothing better. I also done a little bit in the Jamaican area and the Bahamas, and really love the idea of fruit with fish. So whether it's mango, whether papaya, that's again that citrus flavor. Just to me, that's the best way to eat fish. I assume it's not fried. If you grill it, and just squeeze a lemon or any type of citron flavor to put it on that moisture really brings in plus the flavor. So I think that sounds like a real winner. Any other seafood ones besides that? That's great. That one really sounds good, the Martinique. And you're using speckled trout, which again, folks, was something that used to be on everybody's menu in New Orleans when I was growing up, and then all of a sudden disappeared. You can never find speckled trout.
Well, that's thanks to the Fisheries Conservation Act, and that's one of the problems that the popularity of Louisiana seafood, as it has gone out throughout the country, has really put a high demand on the Gulf catch, and the government's out there to help preserve the species and not let it get overfished. So. Thank
goodness. I think our first big example of that was the redfish, when Paul Prudhomme stood up to him and started to march against it. So you're correct that it is a shame that we love our seafood. We have the best seafood, but of course everyone else falls in love with it too. And then for years we're deprived of it. So it's really good to see us getting back to the dishes that we all grown up with without different twists as you have. And let's talk about any other entrees that perhaps you have. Well, we need to talk about, do you do any type of steaks? Of course, every restaurant has to have a steak. Some just throw it on the grill, but is there anything particular you do with yours?
Well, we do a a great ribeye steak. It's basically a choice piece of meat, and it's a 12-ounce cut of ribeye. And it's first we start it out on the grill top, and then we ended up in the pan getting a nice sear to it. So it really does have a real good flavor. I think the pan searing does bring out the ultimate taste of the inside of the meat, and it lets you, when you sear it, it lets you keep it tender on the inside without really burning out drying out the meat.
Okay. Well, how about any other meats that you know of? I don't believe you had a duck dish, but
we do have a duck.
You did? I missed that one.
Yeah, I just didn't have it out that night.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We do a basically what we have is a duck. It's a duck breast that's sautéed off in a pineapple and citrus glaze, and then it's served in with some wild rice, Louisiana wild rice, and mushrooms, and that also is a nice little tasty dish that we have out there.
And is that on the menu standard or only on specials?
Well, what we have done, I believe, is gone back to the classic roots of a restaurant. We rotate our foods pretty much on a daily basis, so that we keep the freshness and quality out there. I think that's one of the things that's easy to do. If you keep items on your menu every day, you have to really stay on top of quality, and that's the one thing that all people that come to Louisiana really demand is exceptional quality, and that requires constant monitoring of all the food products that go into the final mix of what's served to the consumer. So I think, and as people come into Louisiana, they're always talking about our food. So we're a showcase, and you got to treat it like a showcase. So what we've done is we've gone back to like the old blackboard type specials, where we have pretty much sort of a limited selection. I think that if you go too far and too deep in your restaurant with different selections, you tend to compromise on quality to some degree, because you can't keep everything fresh at the same time. You've got to make sure that you get really fresh ingredients, and that's the secret, I think, to why we've done that.
Great, and of course that's the whole key, is using fresh ingredients, especially for flavor. Any other entrees that either you normally have on the menu, or part of your specialty rotation of your plates that you'd like to talk about? Because we have going to have a few more minutes before we go back to the musicians. And if not, then let's talk a little bit more about your salads, and your appetizers, because I know we had a few others that we didn't. So where you want to go? Lead us here.
Well, I can leave you with tonight. We have Uncle Vito's
Uncle Vito
traditional red sauce.
Okay.
And I'm half Italian, so got the old recipe from my mom's side.
Great.
And it's a traditional red sauce meatball. And it's all you can eat, and it's served over a penny pasta.
Oh, my favorite.
And we just like to do little things like that, where we have our little different nights, different kind of things that we've got out there. So
that sounds great. Any others that you can think of to lure the viewer out there? Any other ones that you know coming up?
Well, we do a bunch of different things with pork. We have
oh, that's right, pork. We haven't talked about pork at all.
We do a grilled pork that's grilled, pan seared, and then it's topped with a fresh tomato and basil, and it's a real tasty dish. And also, we do a fried grilled pork chop, and a fried pork chop, and a nice breaded, and it's covered with a nice sauce.
Great. How about now during the day? I mean, I know we had the burger. I know you might have your special plate today, but I know you do a limited, and I think you do different menus almost every day, and you have a menu du jour, it seems like. So, and I know some of them stay on, some of them gravitate from one day to another. But generally speaking, if someone was coming for lunch, would it be salads and sandwiches and soups, or tell us the normal kind of combination you'd put together for them?
Well, we've got on the typical lunch menu, we've got the free-range fried chicken, which is a staple. We also have two great sandwiches served on focaccia bread. One is the citrus marinated chicken breast that's with a provolone and it comes with also with a mushroom with and then we have the BLTS that is also offered, and that's a bacon, lettuce, tomato, and salmon. That's citrus marinated salmon. That's also served in the sandwich, and
that's a real good combination because most people don't think of pairing bacon with salmon, but the smokiness of both, really do a wonderful job. So, and you're serving that as a sandwich on focaccia?
That's served on a sandwich with focaccia, or if somebody wants it any other way, they're more than welcome to ask. And then we also have a great chicken salad that we have that's got a few little things in there. We use a little bit of pear and walnuts and pecans to add some flavor to the chicken.
To me, that is, and again, now you're going really retro days, because in the old days, chicken salad, was tuna salad and chicken salad were basic dishes, and the better you could dress them up in a restaurant, the better it was. I mean, it was something you always had as a fallback, and again, chicken salad has fallen by the wayside because it's either relegated to nothing at all or no dish. But true chicken salad, I think, would be great. And you're serving that how?
We serve that on choice of sourdough or rye bread. And as you were talking about our salads, I was thinking, oh yeah, we have the amberjack salad, which amberjack, which is one of our entrees that we have, and that entree is called Dave Meets Jack.
What was that again?
It's called Dave Meets
Dave
Jack.
Meets Jack. Okay, you mean
it's
Jack.
A little bit of a little in-house humor, but what we have is a piece of amberjack, and it's it's served in a brochette, and that's also on our entree list.
Oh, really? On the entrees too?
Right, that's correct.
So Dave, look for that Dave Meet Jack. That sounds great. Well, folks, we've been pleased to be talking to the executive chef and owner of David BAIRD of the greatest new restaurant called Le Citron Bistro. As we mentioned, it's on the corner of Religious and Orange in the Warehouse District, right down the street from a real lively night place called Why Ropa. It used to be this rope mills that has now become the trendy place for a musical guest and not dining, but drinking establishment. And as I said, also right near the convention center, the Mississippi River Bridge, and that huge Soleil complex. So, and of course, near the wonderful new feature we have uptown, and that is the name brand we won't mention, that big department store that comes into all the cities, because we have the prettiest one, I understand, in the United States. But it's only a few blocks from there. And again, it's in the oldest building on the uptown side of Canal Street. That's a lot to say, because we have a lot of old buildings in our city. So for him to be happy and be able to found this place and convert it and restore it, it's got beautiful brick floors, wonderful archways going between the doors. You can see they were really nice enough to show, rather than cover it up with sheetrock or something, to leave the natural exterior, which was probably interior at that time, alone, and just cover it with great varnishes to make it really shine. Really beautiful settings. This is a comfortable restaurant. It's not something you have to be super dressed up, casual. Beautiful, whether you want a big party, small party, little quiet rooms. They have these little romantic rooms outside with a beautiful courtyard. And so I'm heartily recommending you to try. We'll tell you more about it, but you know what time it is. Time to go back and listen to our musician out of right on the archive, and we're going to get his name right this time. Don't know what song he's singing, but we wanted you to welcome back Mr. Miles Sullivan. We'll see you right back after his song.
Jealousy. Tell me what you see. Suffer their stupidity. Give mine back to me. 'Cause I see what is better for me. Would you like to handle my identity? But one would be too good for me. And I'm stabbed and I bleed. And I laugh and I bleed. Dear friend, my God, dear friend, I'm me. I see love with or without emptiness. I am not doubtless. Now, what would you give to me? Now, what you come and give to me? And I feel so. Count the cuts on my hands and a stolen soul. Give me what I need. Battle and I bleed. It's a grapple, a battle he never chose. Seem will never smell sweetest rose. He looking high and low, he bring attention around, the steam whistling upon the ground. And I began to shout, desperate to let it out. Walking on sugar, I got these broken bottle blues. Don't push her, give me room in my solitude. I seen come before, come on, kill us some more. Hell, I walk my road before, never no more, never no more. Ah, little vixen, mixing, vexing me up, and messing me up, and dressing me up. Born and bred beneath, stole my claws and teeth. A systematic, psychopathic subordination, manacled to a station, crushed by a hierarchy of, and I'm fisticuffs enough for social secretary, yes, for misfit. The girl you trained on what you bought on my biscuit. Hell had no fury, like woman's gold, and I'm bold, good though when I'm told.
Sullivan, boy, he can strum and sing, huh? Well, we got one more song for him coming before the end of the show, so stick around for that. But we know you want to stick around, more importantly, for our live guest. We're pleased to have today the executive chef and owner of Le Citron Bistro. We're talking about a great new building, great new restaurant in a fabulously old building right in the heart of the Garden District, right near the Lower Garden District, which is, and the Warehouse District, kind of borderline. Very, very popular place right now for living. The Lower Garden District has come back with a full resurgence and revitalization. And of course, the Warehouse District has always been, since the World's Fair, really been popping with regard to the place to live and eat and dine. So don't forget, the restaurant is open for lunch Monday through Friday, and for dinner Wednesday through Saturday night. So want to give them a try. Let's go back. We've got David here. We want to talk a little bit about your desserts. We've got a few more pictures of these, and the first one is your homemade sorbet, something you make in-house and beautifully served. I believe it's your watermelon sorbet. And now I think we've got a couple of pictures here, looking down in a great little glass or mug. Tell us about it, please.
Well, we start out with actually with watermelon, and someone would say, how in the heck do you make a sorbet out of watermelon? And what you do is you basically seed it, and then it's blended into a light sugar and cream base, and then frozen, and then it's then served in the glass with the little bit of some strawberries on the side, and it's a real nice, light, flavorful dessert that is very typical of Italian ice.
Right, glacés, right. It was definitely great. So if you've eaten really full, this is a great way to finish because very, very light, and especially, like I said, during our long, hot summer, what a refreshing taste to have a watermelon sorbet with just a touch of the strawberry to add a little different flavor. Okay, now, of course, as we showed you all through the meal, from appetizer to dessert, he's got a traditional New Orleans dish. And the next one is no exception, and that's the bread pudding. Let's tell us about your bread pudding, how it differs.
Well, one thing we do is we take our bread pudding mixture, and then we put it into little muffin pans, and then bake it out and serve it with a rum praline glaze with a little bit of pecans in there. And that's one of those dishes that when you yell at the chef, you say, "Chef, what are we going to do with all this bread?" And that's one of the reasons why bread pudding became such a real popular dish in most restaurants. It's a wonderful way of utilizing bread that's no longer usable as a sandwich or for on tabletop. What you do is then mix in your raisins, and in our particular case, we're adding a little bit of cran raisins in there to give it a little more zing, we then have a warm rum glaze that's served on top, and it's a really nice traditional French style dessert.
Done a bang-up job on it, folks. So there, for those who've got to have our traditional, you can, like I say, go from A to Z here and have a traditional dish with maybe a little different flavor than some of the other restaurants. Now, lastly, and again, it's not all of his desserts, but he's done a wonderful, this is great for the fall right now, and that is a sweet potato pie. This is really blended, beautifully done, very, very smooth. Tell us about it, please, the pie.
Well, that's a homemade sweet potato pie that start out with your sweet potato, and they're then baked out, and then what we do is you then blend in your spices and sugar and butter and cream, and then put it on top of your crust and bake it out, and top it off with fresh whipped cream.
Fresh cream, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But I love your crust. I love a light crust, and I thought it went so well with the fluffiness of the potato and also the cream. It wasn't usually many of the sweet potato pies or pecan pies are usually heavy, crusty, and to me, I like the balance. And here, because it was so light all the way through, very consistent, it wasn't a heavyweight crust with the light cream and the light fluffiness of the sweet potatoes. So I thought it was smoothly blended all the way through. Now, I know you've got a magnificent, we didn't take a picture of it, folks, but as you first come in through one of the doors, a magnificent old bar that just complements beautifully the restaurant, but at the same time doing all of the new contemporary drinks, all the special martinis and all. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about, I know you got some special events you want to tell the folks about, but tell us about the beverage. What are you doing for wines, if at all, and what can we do to expect for that kind of situation?
Well, we've got a pretty good extensive wine list, reds and whites, paired up with different foods.
Are you doing domestic only, or are you doing...
Excuse me.
Silly.
We've got both domestic and some really good French wines.
Good.
And Italian and some other.
All right. Well, that'd be great. Now, what about, let's see, I know when we were there, the young lady, the bartenders, was fixing some beautiful martini-type drinks, like you say, in these great colored martini glasses. I know you told me there was one particular one, I think. Did you mention about that, the General or something?
Yes, it's called the Millionaire's Martini.
Millionaire's Martini, I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. Tell us a little bit about that particular one, please.
Well, that starts out with 150-year-old cognac,
wow.
and it's served with a really good vodka, which we can't name, but it's a really wonderful drink. Somebody that wants to really just jump out there and step out one night and really enjoy some of the finer things of life.
Well, the big question is, you don't have to be a millionaire to afford it, though, right?
No, it's it's reasonably priced.
But again, and I saw her doing a lot of the new drinks. So the big deal, she's very qualified, and it's a full bar. So it's not like something I don't think there's a thing you couldn't ask her that she wasn't able to deliver, and done in a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful presentation glass, depending on what the nature is. Okay, now I know we have something we want to tell the folks that occurs to your restaurant during the week. Let's tell us about what do you call it, your happy hour? What is it you call it?
Well, we have, on Friday nights, we have a little happy hour gathering. On Thursday nights, we have like a rotating wine tasting.
Let's talk about that, please.
And we bring out some tapas out to the consumer, let them sample some of the neat little things that we've come up with. We have a couple of things. One's a wrap called Religious Chicken.
Tell us about that.
It's a chicken breast that's served with a little sour cream and some roasted peppers, and we then have that. It's baked off, and we also have what's called the Cowboy Mouth, and that's
a name for a great band, huh?
Name for a great band here in the city.
Here in the city, yes.
And it's basically a pork and sausage with a little bit of cheddar cheese and barbecue sauce, and it's also baked off, and it is really wonderful. They got some really good flavors, and so we've added something to our tapas so that folks that want to come over during the wine tastings will be able to really get to enjoy some of the beauty of the restaurant.
So you're pairing with wines. Now, when are you doing these during the week? What night?
We do them on Thursday nights, starting around 6 o'clock.
6. Any particular end at a particular time? 6.
About 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Great.
We pull the plug.
So even though you might be serving diners, you still will offer this to the folks in there in the bar area.
That is correct, and we have a large space so that everyone is real comfortable in the space. That we have a good location for a wine tasting.
Okay. Well, folks, it's about wrapping it up for us today. We want to thank David BAIRD. He's the executive chef and owner of Le Citron Bistro. It's one of the newest restaurants here in the city, located, as we mentioned, right at the border of the Lower Garden District and the Warehouse District on the corner of Orange and Religious Street. There's parking on the street all around there, so very easy to thing. In the oldest building on the uptown side of Canal Street, so that alone ought to draw your interest. It's got it divided and beautiful into the major dining room, 2 smaller dining rooms, and a magnificent courtyard with big palms. And that alone, to have a drink out there or something to eat is real worth it. Right after work, it'd be a great place to visit. He's open, as we mentioned, from lunch Monday through Friday. Open from dinner Wednesday through Saturday night with that great wine tasting on Thursday nights. We've gone extensively through the menu, so we want you to give him a try. Let him know if you saw it on our show. I'm sure he'll be pleased to entertain you regardless whether you saw it here or you happened upon it on yourself. We want to tell you about next week's show real quick. Don't forget, we have a restaurant called the Garden Room. Now, the Garden Room is a beautiful room designed with a garden, with overlooking just like a sunroom and a thing done, and it's located in our West Bank and our adjacent parish, Jefferson Parish. Now, our West Bank is not known for all the fabulous restaurants we have here in the East Bank, so it's really great when you find a specialty restaurant like this. The chef is tremendous. He is very creative. You could just as well be in one of the fine dining restaurants on our East Bank in New Orleans or Jefferson Parish. So a really treat. I know you'll be glad to meet him and see the great recipes he's doing over there. It'll be well worth, whether you live over there, to take a trip. The West Bank is not so far, folks. We've been trying to bring you many times over during this season several reasons to go over there for some of the great restaurants, whether it's fine dining or the little independent shops. Also, we'll have an in-studio great band, and I've forgotten the gentleman's name. I know it goes something like Mal, but it's got an unusual name, and we're anxious for his little group to get together. So once again, next week, we will be here live in studio with a restaurant guest as well as a musician guest. And don't forget, tell your friends and neighbors that we are hoping to be continuing on the Jefferson Parish, expanding into that on Cox cable channel 8, which is during the day is an educational channel where all the educational programs that relate to school as well as their school board thing. But in the evenings, they've consented to show some of our shows. And right now, they have a tape of our Mirabelle restaurant, which we had just a few months ago here. Wonderful French restaurant in Jefferson Parish. True French, 100% fine dining. And they've been showing that, I know, on Tuesday nights. But perhaps you can, and let us know if you find what other nights. We're going to be going over there with some more tapes and other Jefferson restaurants so that the viewers out there can get to know our program. And when we get more information on precise schedules, we'll let you know that as well. Okay, we look forward to you next week. Don't forget, we're here for you and repeats during the week. This is Restaurant Review. I'm your host, Bob Bockelman. Let's have Mr. Miles Sullivan take us out. We'll see you next week.
Yes, I choose these blues, and though I choose to lose, and I pay my dues, many miles in my shoes. But I use my blues, and I could booze and cruise, and I'm smooth when I move, and I move. And I groove, and I'm smooth when I move. And there's holes in the soul that scares the young and the old, and the young grow. It's a stolen soul. Society, I cry quietly inside of me, picking up the chair, following the stumbly step. Colored blue suede abuse, I'm coming